Good morning to one and all for this to the second day of the India Toy Fair 2021. Um, my name is Harish. I will be the moderator for the first session. An architect, designer, and urbanist, and academic associated with United World Institute of Design in Gujarat. Um, it's been a wonderful first day that we've had some interesting speaker sessions. The toy design competition winners learned, and some very interesting sessions to follow up for today as well. Welcome to day 2 of the fair. To start with, I shall in the first place invite Hiranmay ji, who is the CEO of iHub, a government of Gujarat initiative. He's been part of the initiation of iHub, and now he's the CEO. And I would request him to say a few words on the initiatives that have been going on. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Harish, Rajat ji, and all the distinguished panelists, speakers, listeners, viewers. Welcome Sunday morning, and I congratulate all of you who are contributing to this movement of innovation, entrepreneurship, and now keeping toy as the center of the saga. It's a wonderful platform for all of us to not only scout, recognize, and showcase innovation, but also to celebrate the spirit of innovation. That's quite important. India, by its innate nature, has been quite creative. But how do we move from a so-called jugaad to systematic innovation culture is going to be very critical in next decades. And toy design competitions, toy innovation challenges, all these things are happening at the right time when all of the people who are participating in these programs could actually unleash their creativity and showcase how they could contribute. Coming to what iHub is doing, iHub is a Government of Gujarat initiative, particularly focusing on creating an end-to-end innovation and startup ecosystem. So what do we mean by creating an end-to-end innovation ecosystem? We call it as mind-to-market initiative. So any innovator who has something in the mind, and if he wants to take it to market, we are the facilitator. So how do we facilitate? We facilitate in terms of fine-tuning your idea. We facilitate in terms of helping you to create the first prototype. We facilitate in terms of converting that prototype into a minimum viable product. And after that, also help you to kind of get some access to seed capital, the funds and the grants. And finally, that minimum viable product turning into a sellable on-the-shelf product or services for the markets or society at large. We have been giving financial supports to more than 1,000 innovators every year. Government of Gujarat has allocated 200 crores of seed grants to any innovators in the state of Gujarat who has some ideas and innovation to showcase. We give them 2 lakhs rupees to start with in the ideation phase, around 1,000 teams. And when they build this prototype and come to us, we give them additional support through a program called Startups Region. Every year, we create around 250 young innovators turning into startups. And I'm happy to mention that most of these startups or the entrepreneurs who come out are yet to graduate from different universities and colleges. So this is actually a new India in which students are not having that much of so full of inclination towards only job seekers while they are graduating. They're also turning to be job providers. And iHub is trying to catalyze this entire movement in the state of Gujarat and now also sharing with other parts of the country. What we also do is we run a couple of flagship programs in which you also help the innovators to get access to high quality mentors, may it be in India, may it be in the state of Gujarat or even outside. Because mentorship plays a very, very critical role to take the innovation to next stage. And iHub facilitates through a specific program called Startup Clinic, in which any young innovator or any other startups who want to access to high quality mentors, designers, legal experts, financing individuals, we connect them. We also have a program called Startup Samarth, in which we help the young innovators to get fund ready. They get exposure to world-class innovation and incubation programs. We connect them to various investors in Silicon Valley, in Tel Aviv, in other places, so that the innovation happening in India does not only stay at the local consumption level, but also they hit the global markets. So while we focus on solving local problems to address local needs and create market, we also ensure that we also create global production solutions. By now, we also have been very, very open in terms of supporting innovation and intellectual property right. Because as many of you know, China files around 15 lakhs patents and intellectual property every year, whereas India collectively files, including industry and academia, we file hardly 35,000. And from that 35,000 patents and IP, hardly 5,000 come from academic research centers and innovation centers. We have 900 plus universities. So somehow today the tug of war is not only in the borders of the countries. These are across the innovation centers, across university labs, across other assets of research and innovation across countries. Herein, what iHub is trying to doing in a hub and spoke model, we have 75 universities in the state of Gujarat. We are setting up innovation center in each of them. Some of them are focusing on toy, some of them are focusing on agriculture, some of them are focusing on defense strategy, and collectively we are trying to create a hub and spoke innovation system so that we create an environment of celebrating creativity and innovation. And I'm happy to mention that around 5 to 10% of our awarded or funded innovators and startups are even in schools. We have few startup companies who are yet founders having school going. These are 16, 17-year-old young boys and girls. They have also created at least a few dozen enterprises. That proves that youth in this country is actually having a huge amount of potential energy. We must need to unlock them. And I'm happy platforms like the Toy Fair and the entire festival culture of innovation is going to give them another opportunity. And Rajat ji, Harish ji and all, they are going to share their learning and insights, how all the listeners, all the participants could actually leverage all the support system that is being created at national level, state level, and even in the private sectors, so that all of you can successfully convert the journey between mind to market effectively and also create an impact at the national level, at the regional level, and also India taking a global share in innovation and knowledge economy. Thank you, Arishji.
Wonderful, sir. Wonderful. Very crisp, very wonderfully said. I did very appreciate the fact that mind to market was a very impressive word to being used, and jugaad to innovation was also a very, very interesting and impressive direction to move in. I really appreciate Government of Gujarat initiative iHub for taking this initiative of conducting the India Toy Fair 2021, and hope to see wonderful innovations happening, wonderful young innovators coming in, young startups coming in, and to flourish in the market that's absolutely potential right now. Moving ahead from Sri Kiranmayji's talk, I would introduce Mr. Rajat Jain, who's a co-founder of Smartivity, another very, very interesting startup, which has garnered a lot of appreciation, a lot of praise for the innovation that they've been doing in the education segment. Toys integrated with learning segment in the market itself, and to introduce a startup. So the startup essentially is headed by four co-founders, along with Tushar Amin. There's Apurva Gupta, Ashwini Kumar, and Rajat Jain. I would first, in the first place, would invite Sri Rajat Jain ji to share the idea of how the startup actually came up, the story of the startup, because I think that's where I have initially that's how I have supports initiatives, and it will be quite inspiring to visit the story in the first place.
Hi, Harish. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Great. So, thank you firstly for inviting me for the toy fair, to you and your team. And regarding Smartivity, firstly, let me tell you the story, then I'll tell you what role I play in Smartivity. So Smartivity began, the starting point of Smartivity was Three words: constructive engagement at affordable price. So what we observed, so the starting point was when Apoor and Tushar, they were at a birthday party and they observed the kids. The kids usually get gifts at birthday parties. And the child who was celebrating the birthday, they, as usual, have an excitement of unwrapping the gifts. So while unwrapping the gifts, Apoor and Tushar observed that the kids are interacting with the gifts for a very short while. Either they have already purchased those gifts, someone has given to them. Mainly it's cars, mainly it's dolls, kinds of things. So the attention span for engagement with the kid with the toy was less. And secondly, those toys were not helping the kid in experiencing something new or in enriching the kid's experience. So we from that point, both Apurva and Tushar got talking as to how and what could be done so that the toys which the kids have access to right now could be more meaningful, could be more enriching, could be more constructive, and could offer a longer engagement. We don't want a parent to be spending 500 rupees or 600 rupees to engage their child only for 5 to 10 minutes, and then the child coming back again and saying, I want a new toy. That creates a need for uh, hyperactivity and for low attention span. There is no patience that the child is developing by exploring that toy. Also, it's because that toy does not have so much avenues for exploration. That's why. So we got on board. Apurva and Tushar got talking. They ideated something, and I, in the meanwhile, was with my father, looking after his business. So my father imported toy at that time, uh, and I was looking after his business in Sadar Bazaar. So I, from the childhood only, I have this kida of tinkering with everything. Whenever you give, so my mother used to rant that whatever toy you bring for him, he'll just open it up, and then that toy is gone. You can assume that it has gone to waste because he has opened it. So I like tinkering with things, and I like tinkering with toys specifically because toys interest me. So then, and Apoor, me and Ashwini, we are batchmates from IIT Delhi. So I'm an engineer from IIT Delhi. Apoor and Ashwini are also engineers from IIT Delhi, and Tushar is another engineer, but he's not from IIT Delhi. He's from some other institute, and he's also aged. He's around 40 years old, so aged. So, Apoor, me and Ashwini, we meet, uh, we met a lot. Ashwini and Apoor were staying in the same apartment. They exchanged ideas. I got together, and we formed a team as to we have to do something in this domain. We have to bring out learning which we were taught so late in engineering to a young kid. Why is it necessary that a gear should be introduced only in the first semester of your engineering college? Why can't, because gear is a very simple shape. It is just a circular object which has teeth, which is a very simple concept. And why can't you explain this concept to a 6-year-old child or an 8-year-old child? So we got to the whiteboard, we ideated things, and we started ideation, etc., in 2014. And that was the time when we launched a subscription service called Yuhu Box. But unfortunately it didn't click with the parents, and there were some learnings, and we moved to a more STEM based toy development approach than a craft based development approach. And we started the company Smartivity in 2015. We introduced 8 products into the market, mainly made of re-engineered wood, which is called MDR. So yeah, that is the story of Smartivity. It offers constructive engagement at an affordable price.
Wonderful. There's a lot of dreams that has actually come up over there, because I think all the dormant dreams from your childhood of understanding how STEM work, and I think the realization came probably after you joined college, and how that kind of brought it. Um, but others, do you have other memories of, let's say, you spoke about memories about toys, and memories of how your mom had said that wanted to open this
Yeah,
phobia.
yeah,
And do you
yeah.
have, I have very fond memories of toys that have made an impact on my life, right? So because I personally feel toys are something that is been designed, is probably the first design products of interaction for us, first products of learning for any of the kids that matter. Otherwise, there's always nature that is there, but the first form of
Yeah,
structured
true.
learning happens with toys. And I'd like to hear your, memories of growing up with toys, and what are the interesting toys that you had worked with.
So I was a very shy kid, and I spent most of my time watching movies or cartoons. So that was my childhood. I didn't play with much of the toys, or I don't remember. But mainly the toys that I used to play with were role play kind of toys. So there could be a car, which a pre-constructed car that was given to me. Uh, eh, During those times, we had Esteem, Maruti Esteem. So I remember playing with these cars, enacting different things with my sibling, and mainly role play kind of engagement. Then I also remember that, like I mentioned earlier, I have this habit of tinkering. So instead of playing with them the way they are required to be played with, I just I just had I just wanted to, as a child, I always wanted to open it up, or explore something new with it, or try something new with it, or see if when does this toy break just by dropping it from somewhere. So I did those kind of things. I remember I bought mechanics. Someone got mechanics for me, but I was not very intrigued by the toy. Frankly speaking, maybe it was difficult for me to do, and at the end I could not construct something meaningful, which got me discouraged, and which got me away from mechanics. Because now that I think of those construction toys like Lego, like mechanics, uh, I if I could go back to the childhood, I would really want to explore those toys, building something out of mechanics, or just exploring those aspects of construction toys. I think that was something which, uh, at least my parents didn't have a priority to for me to interact with. It was only always ready-made toys which were made available, ready-made games which were made available. There were a lot of board games. So yeah, there were a lot of board games, especially Ludo, Snakes and Ladder, and chess. These board games formed a major constituent of what the games I played with in my childhood. So I agree with your point that the toys are the first structured interaction. But unfortunately, parents treat toys as something which बच्चों को चुप करवाना है. Because the bacha is nagging you, so you have to give something to him or her. So you purchase a toy. That is the mindset, uh, unfortunately, for the parents. Whereas for a kid, if you look from a kid's perspective, for me, my toy, I remember that I had oh yeah, I also had a monkey, a soft toy monkey. So I didn't give it a name, but I would make that monkey, uh, I would move its hand, its legs, and I would enact something, make it dance, try to make it dance. Or so this is the way. So this is a very inter this is a very personal space which a kid explores or reveals to a toy. And that's why I believe that the toy is a necessary and the best buddy or a best friend which a child has in his or her childhood. And that's why this it is imperative that this buddy does not remain a dumb buddy, but this buddy gives the child various ways to explore uh, itself, various ways to learn from it. So for example, if my buddy could have some paraphernalia with it, for example, if I could attach some let's say if I could design spectacles for my buddy, if it came with such kind of things, if I could design uh, various elements for that buddy's interaction with the surroundings, then maybe I could have explored much more. Maybe I could have explored a lot of some materials which which I explored later on in my life. So there is a lot of exploration which can be brought out in a toy, through a toy, which a child is restricted to, which a child is restricted upon until the age of 18. So a toy is not taken very seriously by parents, whereas it is a very serious business because it's the business of a child. That's what the child's life is. So parents should take choosing the toy for your kid not as a not as something which uh, करना है तो कर दिया, but as something which will help my child grow, which will help my child survive, which will help my child think, which will help my child tinker. So I believe that kind of mindset is needed in the toy design and in the toy purchase.
Do you also think parenting has changed? Parents have changed. Times have evolved. Has
Yeah.
society changed in a larger mindset? I see a lot of difference in the parents of the 70s, 80s, 90s, and the parents of the new millennials. They're all engaged in a lot of work. Earlier, at least one parent would be, with the kid earlier. That time not happening right now. There's a lack of that is happening. There's also a lot of technological influx that is happening. There never used to be TV used to be a big thing in the 80s, 70s, and 80s.
Right.
And in the 90s, every house had a TV at that. There's a lot of things that happen. What do you think is the difference in kids of the 90s and let's say the kids 10 or 15 years after that, were born around 2005 or 10 years back? What do you think is a major difference? What are the hindrances that they actually have? And what are the challenges, if you see, in terms of?
I believe children of this age are privileged. They are seeing things which we were not sure, or parents of 90s parents were not sure their kids would ever see or they would ever see. So though parents, joint families have converted into nuclear families where both the parents are working, and the, there is there are less there is less human interaction with the kids. uh, with regard to uh, the knowledge that is available around the kids, it's huge and it's growing exponentially. So the challenge remains that with that with the technology which has been developed, with the uh, pace, so the pace of our life has become very fast, and there is no point where we are stopping and thinking or reflecting. Those points of reflection are missing in our lives, which are missing in the lives of kids as well. So uh, the major challenge is the emotional imbalance which has been created in the kids of this generation. Uh, that is the only challenge. And 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 see, again, it's not that the parents don't want the best for their child. It's just that they are also fighting for their survival. Only when they survive can their child survive. So we can't expect the parents to quit their jobs and stay at home. uh, they're fighting for a reason, but at the same time there is a challenge for designers and industry professionals to create. Again, the role of toy comes into the picture now. So if there is no parent, then there is a toy or there is a nanny. But a nanny is not in every household or with every kid. Nanny has such deep personal relationship with the kid. A toy will always have a special bonding with the kid. So it is imperative upon us as designers and industry professionals to create that environment to enable the parents to say that, hey parents, we understand you can't give a lot of time to your kids, so we are coming up with a solution which will not only cater to their cognitive, motor, fine motor skills, but which will also cater to their emotional needs. We will find a solution, we are finding a solution, and here's the solution. Why doesn't your child play with it? And so I think the challenge is upon the society, challenge is not upon the kid, challenge is not upon the parent. So there is a there is an awareness which is required from the parent while purchasing or while making a decision to buy a toy. But major challenge is upon us. How do we want to make it so accessible and so easily adoptable by the parents and kids, so that
I,
it just
I
fits,
think
it just
the advancement in science and technology and stuff has also made a lot of basic engineering, basic understanding of stuff a lot more redundant. And like you said, it doesn't need to necessarily be introduced during the higher education cycle, where in colleges. So, and it kind of gets pushed into the school curriculum, and that's where the what do you say? The impact of toys on young minds, kind of grows. It kind of gets them equipped, gets them prepared in the first place, because I think that the technological advancements in the 80s and 90s, the curriculum was pretty fine that way. But when it comes to 20s, it's a huge influx, huge change, giant leaps in technology in itself. And
true.
that probably has not been reflected in the toy industry. I think that's the huge. I think that's where the huge balance of how your startup is actually Smartivity is actually bridged. I think also in the way that parenting has happened. Of course, it's the amount of time that they're able to spend, the social responsibility that they have. Society as a responsible domain to for the enrichment of children in itself, and that's played a huge important role. And for a while, it was like in the 90s and the early starting of the century itself. The media had kind of taken over, the entire toy sector itself. It kind of mesmerized everybody. I think that people are coming out of it right now. Have you seen in your studies, in your market service, have you seen heard such experiences on how what are the impacts of media, TV specifically, because in terms of how that has happened and how you've been able to pull things out from there with your startup, because I think your startup's kind of made an impact on um, pulling kids out of the TV and then making them sit and do something, not concentrate. I think that's a huge gift from beyond the toy itself. Have you heard of those in your service, in your um, studies with the market itself?
So it is an established fact that kids earlier, the kids before internet boom, the kids would sit in front of TVs. Once internet boomed, the kids would sit in front of computers. Once the Android phones or cell phones became smartphones came into the picture, the kids uh, have screens in their hands most of the times now. But that is only because the screen, the the screen has become the best toy for the child. So uh, because smartivity and such construction toys are accepted by the kids, so there, other than smartivity, there is Lego, and Lego has been there forever, and still it's an established brand. It's growing by leaps and bounds. So which means we have a fact, we can say for a fact that the kids are loving the physical aspect of doing things, of playing with things. So uh, though we complain that my kid spends so much time on screen, and how do I get him or her unhooked from the screen, that's only because the kid has nothing else meaningful or easily accessible or easily doable to do, because of which the kid is opting for that option. If you give him or her an option, if you give the child an option, if you create an option for the child, uh, as a parent only, let's talk about a parent. If as a parent you sit with the kid, you create a game with anything, and you play with your child, definitely the child will play with you. He or she won't sit with the TV. But unfortunately, uh, the from the toy perspective and from the parents perspective, there is a shortfall, and and because of which it becomes difficult. It becomes difficult once the kid is hooked to television or to a screen to get him or her unhooked. It becomes very difficult. So we have also faced such problems. uh, so when we conceptualized the idea, we also had this uh, competition analysis. What kind of games or toys, because at the end of the day, smartivity is creating educational toys slash games for kids. So what kind of other toys and games are we competing with or competing against? And screen or video games, Xbox or Android games. These are this is a huge competitor, because all apps are most of the apps are free, can be freely played with. You can switch to any other app at any point of time. It's very easy to just keep flipping, switching. So but we believed that though there is a virtual world in which the kid is engaging, there is a physical world which the kid wants to engage with. And and we have to design our products in such a way that the physical world is very easy and very encouraging for the child to use or to interact with. That's why our focus while designing the products, so since we design do it yourself activities, so the kid has to assemble those activities themselves. So the main heart of the product is an instruction manual, and it is imperative upon us, it is required and it is a mandate upon us that the instruction manual has to be kid friendly, that the joineries have to be kid friendly. If they are not, we can't go ahead with it, because then we can't compete, and the kid won't find meaning in it. The kid will just pass it on to the parent will do one or two times, and then they'll shelf it away. So yeah, That is a problem, but that is a problem to which we have to find to which we can find a solution. It's just about racking your brains.
So I was taking it from there. When you actually the process of how you actually put up these activities and stuff, because that kind of understands how do you start with you look at you integrate learning with choice, which is what we're discussing in the session itself. Do you kind of come up with a learning outcome and then say, okay, probably for this we will probably have design toys of this manner. That's one way of probably doing it. Or how do you what is the method? How does the R&D kind of you know envision or come up with ideas?
Okay. So right now, if you have looked at the toys which Smartivity creates, right now we are creating toys mainly or games mainly around physics concepts, how things move, how the world moves around you. So there are a certain number of defined concepts which are being taught to kids. It's just that, so where we are coming from is we have to make learning practical. We have to make learning fun. Okay, if it's not practical, if there is something you are required to visualize of which you don't have any background, how will you visualize that? I mean, if I ask you visualize God, how will you visualize God? Because you haven't interacted with God, right? So uh, we want the child to interact with the thing first and then go on to understanding the theory behind it. Okay, so we derive the concepts out of the books, out of the curriculum that is readily available online. We choose concepts basis which concepts could be difficult to understand by the kid, which concepts could be difficult to teach by the teachers, and basis those concepts then we design games around it. We So an important part of designing is user feedback. Whatever you are designing for someone, and if it is not vetted by that someone, then your whole exercise is pointless. It's basically you have created something for yourself and you are not the audience. So during the process of creation, first we select the concept, we come up with a game, and then we test it thoroughly again and again with different kinds of users, mainly children, parents, teachers, and then we go on with its refinement, prototyping, etc., and then finally it is put into the production phase. So the criteria on which we choose the concepts is simple. What's being taught to you in schools, we'll pick a concept and we'll bring out the most wonderful game around it or a most wonderful interaction around it, which you will enjoy, which you will be able to construct, which will give you confidence to make. And at the end, once you tinker with that toy or game which you have created, you will have a hold of the topic which is being around which the toy has been built, and now you can go to the class confidently and understand the various parameters, theory, equations behind it that the school can take care of.
Wonderful. This kind of bridges the experience in the school and probably kind of introduces that concept, brings that laboratory kind of
Yeah
at home as well, so that they kind of have that platform at home to explore that at home, and also
right
kind of get back into class through it.
right
And I would have loved to have such things in our age.
Definitely, definitely. In fact, I'll tell you about an interesting fact, an interesting observation, not a fact. So a lot of parents, especially parents who are from engineering background, they take immense pleasure in create, especially dads, fathers. They take immense pleasure in creating such toys with their kids, and it's more than the child. You can see the happiness on the father's face or the grandfather's face. So yeah, I think people of all ages enjoy creating, enjoy tinkering. It's they just need a platform. That's it.
I think you've been able to identify the new age kids as well. Where you bring in memories of what they've done, of what they've not missed out in school, so they can actually start doing that at the age that they're. And I also think it has kind of gotten parents engaged with the kids at some level. Because if it's basic role play toys, parents at the pace of life that they are in, like you had mentioned, I don't think they're too keen in engaging in stuff. And they would just say, well, go play with your friends, go with the net, go play with them. And I think this kind of toys of build learning as you build also has given the confidence for the or the comfort level for the parents to come create that platform and say, let's do it together. And I will be your mentor who will teach you all of these concepts. Let me also tell you what I know about these concepts. So I think who created that platform, and it's a wonderful experience to feel about.
Yeah, it brings the family together.
Yeah, I know. It's quite an interesting scenario in terms of how it comes up. So, how do you think this the method of integrating toys with education? How do you think that's going to impact schooling? How do you think it's going to impact education, the experience in school? How in terms of enhancing the levels of or how do you say the experience of education in schools? Can that be exponentially enhanced in some way or the other? Like specific tools, specific toys, which are designed for homes, one part of it, and also designed for schools in terms of a way forward for smart education.
So Harish, I would like to emphasize on a statement: learning should be fun. Learning can't be a task. Learning can't be something which you just expect the kid to do half-heartedly. It can't be it. Then there is a problem with that learning process, which is being forced upon that child, be it in school or be it at home. So we need toys, and toys at school, toys at home. We need toys in both the venues. So with kids, with parents, it's a singular parent's choice to buy those kind of toys. With schools, it becomes a bit uh, tedious. The process becomes a bit tedious because it's an organization. It's not a four-member family which can take decisions. But yes, such tools slash toys slash experiences need to be adopted by, and several schools are adopting it as well. I don't specifically remember the names of the schools, but I have had interaction uh, with some schools which are creating very beautiful experiences for kids, open-ended experiences where the child can learn by themselves, by just exploring what's there around them, and then questioning, and then he or she is being encouraged to question, uh, and those questions are either uh, being further encouraged by the teacher to uh, for the child to research upon, or are being answered by the teacher. So there are schools which are creating such experiences, but nationwide, uh, we we need all the schools to realize this fact that if the learning is not adapted to the adapted according to what a child needs, that learning could be called waste. And also I have one more belief, which is that these toys, we so so unfortunately we have a block in our mind that toys are not serious things, and what an adult interacts with in daily life is much more serious. For example, why don't we bring the innovations that are happening all around us? There are innovations happening in space. There are innovations in the space field. There are innovations happening in architecture. There are innovations happening in every field, because innovation is survival. Why aren't miniaturized versions of those innovations created for children? Because the sooner that kid learns, because so fun, there is another fact that a child is much more receptive slash absorptive than a human of a human who is in 20 to 30s or beyond age, right? So if at that age group only we could bring about such learning experiences, such innovations which are happening all around the world, then those children using that learning could create better solutions, and the growth which we are seeing right now could be exponential, could be e to the power x to the power x, right? So so we should look at toys or such experiences, be it in school or be it in the society. In the society, so it society also plays a very important role. Why? Because so I don't know if you know about various kinds of science museums around the world, but uh, so I went to National Science Center recently, and I thoroughly enjoyed my visit. Uh, then I started exploring what are the experiences that the science centers around the world are providing, and they are providing so beautiful and so engaging, so immersive experiences. I can't state them right now. There needs to be a whole session on that. But as a society, we need to create such avenues where the kid out of their homes, out of their schools, can voluntarily go visit such places and experience mechanisms in action, experience the innovations that are happening around us in action, and gain from them. So that is the role of society. And at home, it's the role of the parent and the toy makers to provide such experiences. So we should treat such experiences as tools of survival. We need these tools to keep on surviving, to keep on finding better solutions to the problems. That will only happen if if the children are better thinkers, if they adopt a more holistic approach, if they have experience, if they have a whole lot of experience of everything and anything backing their research or backing their solutions. So yeah.
Wonderful. Out of your experience in terms of how you studied toys, I believe you're also exporting
Yeah.
your products across the world. A little more on that, and probably your understanding of how the market, how education has been happening, or how smart toys has been working in the rest of the world, and what's the scenario in India? How do you look at both of those?
I didn't get the question. Can you repeat
In terms
that?
of in terms of the engagement, integrating toys and learning in the rest of the world, and how
Hmm.
that works in India, and how
Okay.
does your products kind of
Understood.
find the balance or find the bridge over there
Understood.
in the other parts?
Okay. So, engagement and learning integration in toys is mm, so it is happening all around the world. Uh, I think it has come too late in India because uh, when we started, uh, there is an acronym STEM: Science, Technology, Engineering, Mathematics, which we were publishing on the front of our box that this is a STEM toy. we were promoting it as a STEM toy because it is a STEM toy. So, but that at that point of time, at least, not several parents were not too many parents were aware about it. So, uh, so in other parts of the world, people are very actively relooking at their education systems, at the design of these toys. They are actively looking at integrating the best experiences that could form a part of the toys. Uh, mm, in terms of technology, so what I said earlier, that the innovations that are happening, which are happening around us, why aren't they being made available to the kids? I believe that has, to an extent, started happening in terms of augmented reality technology is being made available to the kids, and this that is a wonderful technology. I mean, you can do anything with it. You can your own world, and a toy designer can create another world for the child to interact with, to learn from, to experience. So uh, technology is being implemented. Again, it's a bit slow in India, but in other parts of the world, the screen, though there is a though we are uh, though screen time has become a challenge for the kids, but at the end of the day, it is a technology. It is a piece of technology, and it will be used. Uh, it has its advantages, and we have seen those advantages. So they are using these technologies of augmented reality, of IoT, of artificial intelligence to create such experiences for kids, which can which can create, uh, which can ease out the learning process for the kids, which can ease out the entry of that toy into the kid's life, and then it is also enabling these technologies are also enabling the toy to grow with child. So yeah, that's what's happening around the world. And with this advent of internet and with these uh, virtual reality, augmented reality, I believe uh, there is a lot of potential which we have started exploring, but a lot can be done. uh,
I understand.
Tip of the iceberg, you can say.
I was reading smart lenses, virtual reality enabled lenses for class 9 and 10 students. And
Virtual reality.
yes, I was reading about a few of those products of yours as well. How is it already there in the market right now? Those products
So we designed
in
that
terms of the
product. We designed that product for a publication company,
oh,
and they so it was a service kind of thing, and they implemented it in schools. So again, technology has challenges, and though those challenges are being overcome, because at the end of the day, adoption of the technology depends on resolving those challenges. So once those challenges are resolved in the technology, for example, so I'm talking very abstractly right now, I'll just specify what I'm saying. So with virtual reality, there several parents and several kids, also adults and kids alike, face problem with the vision, or with some uh, it is adopting that technology in your daily usage is not as easy as doing something physical. Okay. So solutions are being found out for those problems, and once the solutions are found out, those technologies will find their way into the design of the toys. Right now they are not very mainstream, but they will become mainstream once they are adopted by the kids, once they become adoptable. But augmented reality as a feature, it has become quite enhanced, it has become quite advanced, and it has started coming into the toys as well. So yeah, uh, yeah.
That's news on it. Wonderful to hear emerging technologies AR and VR getting into toys. That will be quite interesting for adults as well, in terms of
Yeah.
experiencing those or introducing themselves to the emerging technologies that's coming in right now.
So I was playing a game yesterday. Uh, it's augmented reality or virtual reality, not augmented reality, Angry Birds. So
Oh,
I believe you must have played Angry Birds game, right?
yeah.
So earlier it was only on the 2D screen. Now what they do is you can map your table, whatever surface you want to map through that application, and then the whole scene of Angry Birds is replicated onto your table. So and then you can interact with it. So yeah, it's fun for adults. It's really a lot of fun. I mean, it's and it will be it will never go it will never become boring because your environment can change at any time. So yeah,
But
there is a
there's
lot.
still linked to the reality, the present world that you live in. It's not completely a virtual world. So it's I think all of these experiences kind of adds to the way you look at the virtual,
Definitely,
the present world in itself. Yeah, sometimes
definitely,
you can get
definitely.
illusionary as well. That's a different aspect of it. But yeah, but it'll be quite interesting to have games of those sorts. Uh,
Yeah.
Coming back to your subscription part of it, I believe I understand that there is a subscription
Model.
models that you actually have. Now, let's say once someone gets a subscription, how do you actually, based on the age, based on the complexity, how do you then arrange your subscription
We
structures?
have for this STEM DIY, we have two age groups. One is 6 plus and one is 8 plus. And basis the themes. So we have created different themes for both age groups in which we have clustered our products. So earlier we were selling single packs, and now under the subscription service we have, for according to 3 month service or a 6 month service, we have created packs, theme related packs. For example, if it's a car, if we are giving cars in that theme, then we have called it racers pack, let's say. So we have created such packs based on themes, not based on complexity, because the complexity takes into kicks in once you decide the age group, and our products are already mapped to the age group. So for both age groups, 6 plus and 8 plus, we have different packs around different themes from our clustered, uh, from our single packs clustered together.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah.
Um, in terms of anything that want to add in terms of your experiences during the essence of understanding learning and how understanding moves into voice itself? Anything beyond?
I think I've shared most of the points, but I would.
What do you
So
think is the way forward in terms of
yeah.
how you?
So the way forward, one thing which I would be very much interested in seeing being implemented is if there could be toy design, if there could be more toy design courses in institutes, that would really help make creation or design of toy a serious business than what it presently is.
Mhm.
So it right now I think it's limited to a single digit number of institutes.
Right.
Whereas I don't see a problem in such courses being floated in IITs, NITs, triple ITs. It should be everywhere. It should be in every field. Uh, so we usually when we talk about a STEM toy, we associate it with engineering, but that's not the case. Uh, it's a learning toy, and learning happens everywhere in art, in humanities, in it's happening everywhere, right? So why don't we create a toyful, joyful? So why don't we create a toyful experience in each field? So I would be very happy to see a toy design course. Maybe I don't know how it will be conceptualized, but in the field of law as well. Why not? I, I mean, we just have to think about it, because at the end of the day, learning we should uh, we we should write in stone that learning has to be fun. If we do that, then we will ourselves come up with solutions to make it fun. Otherwise, status quo.
Wonderful, wonderfully said, Rajat. Thank you so much for a wonderful, engaging session, for sharing all your um, experiences, insights to how learning happens, and congratulations for the superb going of your startup Smartivity, and
Thank
a
you.
this term in the next years to come
Thank
for
you.
you and the startup and all for all co-founders as well. On the note of starting a toy design school of toy design, yeah, of course, you're right. There are very few colleges which actually teach design itself in the first place.
Yeah.
And for design to be specific, I think there's only one or two that I would say that really focuses on toy design. Of course,
Yeah.
I think the market is opening up to the understanding of how toys are working as well, and
Yeah.
what the kind of impact that toys can make on education, make on individuals, make on a society, and make on nation building as well. And that's the call that our beloved Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji has called for as part of the Atmanirbhar
Yeah.
initiative. Yeah, so I think it's a visionary initiative as well, and I hope the initiative takes wonderful wing, and then it spreads around, and we can come up with more responsible, more uh, um, uh, better society, build a better society for a wonderful future as well. Thank you very much for being on the journey of
Thank you.
building a society. Thank you very much, and all the best for Smart.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks. Pleasure.
Okay. Bye.
Following our session, I think we'll take a short break for 10 minutes, and the next session shall start by 11:45. Thank you very much for your attention as well. Have a good day. Thank you.